Times are challenging right now in New York, but True Green knows that the grass will get greener. You may be spending more time enjoying your lawn this season than ever before, and True Green can help make your lawn happy, healthy, and weed-free. Call 877-461-0427 or go to truegreen.com/radio to receive 50% off your spring application. That's 877-461-0427 or go to truegreen.com/radio. At True Green, we'll take care of your lawn. You take care of you.
I just feel like I've been around the block, ripping up fantasy stock, working around the clock. Look at the view from the top. Researching rookies a lot? No, I just be listening to pods. Yeah, one in particular, I'm just a messenger. Let me just pass on the rock. Browning, brunning, pruning, pronouncing ain't what he's doing. What he's doing is not losing, but infusing you with new things. And there's Dennis the Bennett, yeah. The man is a menace, yeah. Building a dynasty, some of the finest things. Promise you, you won't regret it. Sly as a fox, cultured in pop. Give him his props. Here is a thought, here is a box, and you cannot compare them at all. So don't even try. Careful with the news, but when you use a take, I take up Tony Fire. I mean dire, because anyone else is a huge mistake. Whoa, fantasy round table, fantasy round table, yeah. Fantasy round table. Come take a look at the crown, baby. Hey, fantasy round table, fantasy round table, woo. Fantasy round table. Come take a look at the crown, baby. Go.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Roundtable Podcast, proud members of the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast Network. You can find them at FTFPodNet on Twitter. You can find me, your host, Matthew Bruning, at SportsFanaticMB on Twitter. We are just one of a ton of great podcasts associated with this network, some of which are Jim Day of FF Champs, Corey Parsons, and Dr. Roto from Sirius XM Radio. We've got Bob Lung of The Consistency Show, The Consistency Guide, and the creator of the Midwest Fantasy Expo. You can find all of us on fulltimefantasy.com. We are about to go live again, hopefully on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook this time. So we've got everybody ready to go. We're just going to jump right in and start the live show. Unfortunately, I'm recording this after the show. I kind of hit the record button a little bit late, so that it jumps in a little bit into a conversation here about something, but we will have that the live audio up and ready to go for the podcast format here now. Hello! All right, and we're up and live. So as you guys can see at the bottom of the screen here, that's not Dennis. There we go.
No, I'm not.
Jonathan Weber, you've been one of the, I would say probably first, or the most recognizable listener that I know of. You reached out to me really early on in the process.
That's all those DMs.
1 hour. What's up?
I said that's all those DMs I blow you up with and asking you 1 million questions.
You have been you won the Listener League last year, so you kind of came out just to talk about that really quick, because I know not a lot of people know about that. We were supposed to have you on earlier in the season that did just for whatever reason kept falling through. We finally got you on here. You won the Listener League last year. Like, how was that experience for you? Talk about your team, because I don't even think I made the playoffs in that league. So.
I would, you know what, and even on that team, I'm trying to see if I can pull it up on my phone, because I honestly can't even remember, like, necessarily who was on my squad to know how I did. I know I did pretty, let me see here. Here we go. Is this it? Yes. Okay, here it is. All right. So the Listener League was, like, really fun. I've been listening. I think it's been a couple of years, at least, I think, right? It's been at least like a year or two. That I've been listening to the podcast. I just stumbled upon it one day and I just really liked it. Listening to the information. Matt is like super friendly on Twitter, and so is Dennis. And so once they started getting going, like format wise in terms of links, sometimes some podcasts can go like a little long. For me to be able to get through. And well, especially what I'm finding out now is my podcast list keeps growing because I'm home now. I'm a teacher, so I'm home. So I'm not going through content as much. But when I was going through content more so, that it was just right around like the right time, which was good for me here in Dallas in terms of my drive, so I could get through kind of being in the car and listening to it. And in terms of Listener League, was great to get those guys in there. And I generally started really branching out because of the podcast to do more dynasty. Before I focused a lot more on redraft, and I still do because that's where I tend to win my money. And then I use my football money to, like, I don't know how well you can see, to like keep working on my tattoo sleeves. But that's generally what I do with my winnings. So I focus a lot more on redraft. So when we were doing a redraft for the league, I was 100% down to do it, and I didn't think I drafted all that well when you'll hear my team compared to some of the guys, but I think I played the waiver wire well, and I just kind of hit a couple of streaks here and there with players that kind of turned in my favor.
Yeah, tell us about your team. I was trying to pull mine up, but I cannot find. There we go. I think I actually found it now. Tell us your team, and then I'll just kind of talk about mine. That I had high hopes for my team, and it just it shit the bed. I did not even make the playoffs. I can't even. I'm trying to pull up, if I can, the standings here.
Oh yeah,
it's zeroed out. So
I could tell you who made the play. Let me see if you made the playoffs.
I know I didn't.
You did not. You did not make the playoffs.
I didn't.
Yeah.
This brings us right back to the fall when we'd spend our Mondays having a well of sadness about our teams.
That's I'm just staying on brand with the Browns. Exactly. All that big talk in the preseason, and then just completely failing the rest of the year.
Well, that's what my Baker shares are hurting right now in Dynasty. So I had Ryan Fitzpatrick, Marlon Mack, James White, Julio, Michael Thomas, O.J. Howard, Golden Tate, Kenny Stills. We had a kicker and a defense, so like I had Koo for Atlanta and the Redskins defense, and then my bench was Wentz, DeAndre Washington, Naheem Hines, Patrick Laird, Godare, and the Vikings.
Okay. See, that's not that bad. I finally found here the list. So now I know I didn't have Todd Gurley because I did not draft him, but my team ended up being Baker, Gurley, Aaron Jones, Kenny Golladay, Odell Beckham Jr., Mark Andrews, Sterling Shepard, and then Gerald Everett. And then my bench was just complete crap. So I was relying on those guys, and it did not end up being a good year for me at all. I was trying to see if I could find what my actual record was, but it's not. It just playoffs.
Ryan Fitzpatrick shifted so many performances. I'm in a super flex league where my team sucked, and I was very excited because I had two other teams that ended up sucking. I have their first round pick, and for one glorious stretch, it looked like I was going to have picks 1, 2, and 3. Oh. And then the other team started doing a little bit better, and when Fitzpatrick went on that roll for Miami, all of a sudden my team was just good enough to make it into the playoffs, and I was like, why did this happen?
Yeah.
So now I picked 2, 3, and 9.
But hey, there's still good talent there. That's why I'm in my main dynasty. Well, I had DM'd Matt about this question earlier about I've got no first round pick, but I finished I had the best record last season, but came in 4th. Like best regular season record, I think by a pretty substantial margin, and I ended up losing in the playoffs because I ran into I think Derrick Henry in the playoffs, and then he just destroyed me.
The playoffs are his
Derrick
time.
Henry, he's a friend of the podcast. That one.
Yeah. I should go grade all my guys.
Friend of the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course, friend. Oh, God, it's so weird with the camera. Friend of the podcast. I was hoping to ask Dennis and Matt their opinions on this. Dennis is not here, so go ahead and hit Matt with this trade question because I actually haven't looked at it. I saw it, and I was like, you know what? Let's save it. We'll talk about it on the pod. So let's talk about it. You got a trade offer. Is that in this league that you were just talking about?
Yeah, so this is my more long-standing league. Actually, John Bosch was the one that kind of had set the stuff up, and then we all ended up in this just a bunch of people all over the country. I think couple people maybe in Canada as well. It's my more long-standing league, and we just drafted. We decided to do another super flex, so we sort of combined the leagues. The one's a half point PPR, not a super flex, and then this other one we just drafted was a super flex, but we've combined them to where essentially you're if you were to leave or whatever, you have to forfeit both teams. If you leave one of the leagues, you got to give up both of them. That was a new rule that we voted on. But so this is the team. I could tell you my team, and then you can tell me what you think. But I've been trying to get rid of. I got Matt's boy Singletary. through a trade, I got rid of Gurley and one other piece, I think Robbie Anderson, and I might have had to throw in a first somewhere along the lines. I can't remember, but I ended up getting Singletary, and I got Ingram, and I got T.Y. Hilton and Edelman, and I got those are all kind of the newer pieces I've acquired. But I'm very nervous that Buffalo is going to draft another running back and basically kill his value, because I see a ton of mocks, or I've been reading a lot of mocks where either Akers goes there or maybe CEH, but I that seems like I think he might go before then. But Akers tends to be what seems to be the consensus if they're gonna do a running back that early. So my dilemma is, I thought I had a deal in place for Singletary for Terry McLaurin, and I was all on board, and then that got pulled. He pulled that one. So now the new one was if I did Singletary, Ty, and a 208 for Julio.
Oh, see, because is Thielen not in it anymore?
No, so I tried to get Thielen. I tried to move Thielen over Ty, okay. But gotcha. he wants Ty. I feel like that's a lot for a guy for Julio that might be just done after next year. I mean, he's a beast, but
yeah, I mean, you're giving up, in my opinion, your running back and your wide receiver depth on top of the 2-8, which I don't really know. Like we talked about it a little bit last night. I don't know how the draft's going to go now with these rookie drafts, especially with we thought these were going to be deeper than they were earlier on, where now it seems like the talent may be thinning out a little bit. So 2-8 may not be that bad. But right. Giving up a guy like Singletary, who as of right now, as you point out, is going to be the workhorse. We don't know if that'll stay that way, but he is. And then, I mean, T.Y., I don't know what to think about T.Y. right now, especially with Phillip Rivers being there. But all for Julio, just one player. That's a little bit rough for me, Matt. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the danger with Singletary is either they draft or, more alarmingly to me, I've seen Buffalo listed in the teams that are having conversations for Leonard Fournette, and that would be crushing to Singletary shares.
Fournette will be there starting running back for like 3 games until he gets hurt, and then it'll be all Singletary again, kind of like last year.
You thought that was going to happen last year, but Fournette did get hurt. So, I mean, it may long-term not be terrible, but in the short term, it would definitely – the other one that scares me for Fournette, a sidetrack, is if they were talking about the Saints inquiring, and as somebody who has a lot of Kamara shares,
oh yeah, that'd be terrible.
I had to log off for a while. But I guess my question would be, if you made this trade, what are your running backs left?
So yeah, I can tell you, so this is where I'm trying to figure out with running backs and wide receivers, because we're 2 wide receivers and then 3 flex spots, right? So two running backs, 2 wide receivers, and then 3 flex at wide receiver, running back, or tight end. So I've got Lev Bell, Dalvin Cook, Josh Jacobs, James White, Justice Hill, and some other pieces. Now we're getting kind of the ball, the quality drops off. And then for wide receiver, I've got Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, Kupp, who else do I hear? AJ Green, Julian Edelman, and then the kind of quality, then I'm down to more like your wide receiver 4 and 5 with Steve Sims or, Boykin or, somebody like that I had drafted from last year.
So I don't think I would do it because, I think the overall strength and depth and having options, especially since you have to essentially start 7 running back wide receivers, because you're going to have to make some combination of those with flex. You're dealing 2 guys that by all accounts should be startable on a regular basis. For Julio Jones, who, I like him, but Matt's right, he's getting older. Calvin Ridley started to emerge. No, not Matt's older, but Julio. He's starting. Calvin,
because this guy just popped up on screen.
Calvin Ridley starting to emerge. It's fair. We've seen before Julio Jones be an incredible receiver who doesn't get touchdowns, and that makes a big difference too. So you never really know. Atlanta suddenly finds itself in probably a much more competitive division, with the Saints being pretty incredible still. the Buccaneers obviously making their play with Brady, and Carolina has at least some high hopes with their new coach. So I probably wouldn't do it.
Okay. Yeah, it's that fear of Buffalo drafting another running back. If that happens, I know like if it's Akers, okay, Akers also maybe that'll be okay, but still that doesn't like breed confidence for me. Despite like reports that say Buffalo is confident in him being a 3-down back, but I don't know if they've had so many interviews as I've read with various backs, that doesn't necessarily tell me that they're that confident in him.
Tell Dennis this trade really quick so we can get his opinion on it really quick.
All right, Dennis. I'm still trying to move Singletary. So do I move Singletary? I thought I had a deal in place for McLaurin straight up, and I would have done it. But Singletary, TY, and the 208 for Julio.
I'm a big fan of Julio. I'd probably try to get like a 3rd rounder back or something.
Okay. I think he has no third, but he's got like a 4th or something. You know what I mean? So like at that point, like I was trying to, could I get Slayton? Could I just get some sort of like Slayton?
Yeah,
I think
Slayton's not a throw-in.
No, not anymore. Maybe I could get Eifert. There we go. Add to my menagerie of random tight ends.
They can throw some pieces in anyways, and with Eifert.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about some auction stuff. Me and Dennis are in an auction league together, and then me and Matt. Golly, this is annoying. Whatever. Me and Matt are wrong again. There we go. Me and Matt are in an auction league, and Debbie won. But Jonathan, you said one of yours was Superflex, right? So I'm assuming Mahomes was one of them Superflex?
No. So the regular auction. No, I think that was just like a regular Superflex league. No, not an auction one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The auction one I did was
your auction one. On your auction, who went the highest? Who went for the most money?
That's a good question. I would give me like a second and I can look up. I can tell you on my team who went the highest, but in the actual auction, I'd have to look that up real quick.
All right. Well, I know in mine and Matt's, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, it was still Barkley that's gone the highest in ours, right? He went for like 60 something, or was it Mahomes?
Here, I'm going to look. I think it's CMC.
Oh my God, really? Yeah, I guess everybody kept upbidding him at the last second.
Yeah, that
caused all the controversy.
Yeah, that was the. I guess there's no good way to sort the page. This is so exciting.
Dennis, do you remember who went the highest in ours?
I think Barkley and CMC went for like 81 and 80. Barkley at 80, CMC at 81.
I'll read a couple of ours. Barkley went for 60. Mahomes went for 61. And CMC went for 63. I believe CMC is the highest. That's the highest I'm seeing.
And so all three of those, Dennis, what was our budget? Because in the one that Matt's talking about, our budget was $300 for 21 roster spots. Technically.
22 roster
spots.
spots.
One of them's a Debbie spot, so I say 21.
But you have to buy the Debbie spots. So
if you were smart, you wait and just buy the last one for
$1. We have 24 roster spots, and our initial budget was $275. When you place players, now we're also a contract league as well.
Yeah.
So the taxi squad, they don't count as much when they're on the taxi squad towards your salary cap. So it depends on how you move them around. We were not allowed to trade auction money during our draft, which I found kind of frustrating because I tried to move Barkley during the draft so I could get more money to bid, and I couldn't, and that frustrated me. After the draft, I ended up trading Barkley for DeAndre Swift and Leonard Fournette. Now Fournette's acting a fool. I gained $9 in cap space, but who knows what the hell is going to happen with Fournette?
If you wouldn't have
try to trade him,
CeeDee Lamb, you would have had more money.
Yeah, I know. Damn CeeDee Lamb.
You better try to trade Fournette before the draft.
I like Fournette, though.
What were some of your highest ones?
Sorry, so I got it for you. So our budget was like $777, 24 spots, but you don't have to fill all 24. Lamar and Mahomes and CMC, all were like, those were the three highest. Lamar at 181, Mahomes at 176, CMC at 176, and then Kyler Murray at 170 and Barkley at 166.
Was it Superflex?
What was the cap again?
777.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense now. Man, still, that's a lot of money. So
it has to be Superflex, right? Because
let me look and double check on that.
Why would you go ham on a quarterback, even if?
Patrick Mahomes and Lamar were kind of outscoring everybody. I mean, Lamar gives you that extra rushing yardage you really don't get from anybody else.
Let me look and see if I can throw it up. Let's see. I'm looking to see. It's like a half point PPR. It doesn't. I think you can just play as many QBs as you want. I don't think it's necessarily like, because it's a best ball style, so there's no there's no like roster construction, like however you want to roll.
Oh, well, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because if you had a couple of giant quarterbacks and they both scored for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have rookies available in yours? Or are you guys doing?
Yes, they were there.
Yeah.
They were there. Yeah.
So who was the highest rookie that went?
The highest rookie is. Let me look here.
So I think for ours it was still CeeDee Lamb, wasn't it, Matt, or was it Swift? It had to have been one of those two. I know the others didn't go, or maybe it was Taylor.
No, actually, I think Joe Burrow went for 50-something.
Yeah, right. Burrow was the highest for us, 105.
God.
Yeah, I'm gonna look.
Justin Herbert's where it's at, people. Oh, what you guys think about this Burrow kid?
I don't know. Dennis got me. He told me to get Herbert in my like Superflex with my standing.
Good job, buddy.
This guy, so I got him as one of my QBs.
They're stealing my thunder there, but you know.
In ours, Burrow went for 45. I'm trying to find Lamb.
I think he was the highest because I know Taylor and Swift were both in the 30s. Lamb was 32, I think.
Judy was 30.
Right now.
I do not have a third quarterback in ours.
Yeah, I think I got 4 because I think I took Jordan. I think I took Justin Herbert in mine. I don't know. I was trying to pull it up really quick. I keep pulling up the wrong league though. I'm in too many leagues. It's very
no, you have 3. You have Darnold, Herbert, and Mayfield.
That's perfect right there. I got 2 MVP candidates in Herbert and Mayfield, and then Darnold will just be sitting on my bench whenever I need him.
So hopefully it doesn't get mono again.
I don't need him. That's what this guy's for. MVP 2020.
Hey, I've been buying a lot of Beckham, so let's hope.
Oh God!
Before he gets traded.
No, don't put that juju on me, man. I've been fighting that battle all fucking week with that crap. He's not going anywhere. If they're going to trade him on Thursday, and you guys are going to see an epic meltdown on this podcast live because he's going to get traded for like a first-round pick and an 8th round pick.
After you spent $48 to get him?
Yeah, I know. Oh, you should have seen the other one. That's the bad thing is so many people, because obviously in the 2 Debbie leagues that I created, it's all like listeners, so they know I'm a big Browns fan. Motherfuckers were upbidding me on every Browns player, and I'm trying to get all of them. I spent 40+ on Beckham. I think Baker cost me 40+ in both of them. Nick Chubb 30+. So yeah, it is what it is. Though I'm still doing it. I hope. I don't know. My one team is horrible, but give us kind of a breakdown of the rest of your team really quick on that. In that the auction one.
In the auction one, yeah. And I was just gonna let you guys know the next like highest rookie in that auction was Taylor for 89.
Yeah, it makes sense. He's kind of the number one, it seems, at running back for everybody.
Yeah. So in mine. And I just spent my last $1 today. So I got – you're not going to like my QBs because I only grabbed one, really, unless something happens. But I got Jimmy G for 82 because everybody was, like, blowing up QB and it was costing, like, over $100. And I was like, nah, forget that. So then I got Mullins, his backup, just in case, for, like, $2 and Robert Griffin for $3. And then I got Lev Bell, DJ Dallas, and Darius Anderson. And then my wide receivers are Devontae, Hopkins, Tyreek, OBJ, Debo, Hilton, Jalen Reagor, and Kelvin Harmon.
I like the Rager and the Harmon. How much did you spend for Rager?
35.
Yeah, he seems to be going. He went pretty high in ours too. I was hoping he'd go cheaper.
You have to remember though, he's talking about a cap of 777.
Yeah.
So that's pretty low for them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's low. Yeah, like
you're thinking about our $300
yeah.
cap.
for a
I
300
should have put it at 700. I'd have been a lot more promiscuous with my money there had I done it higher than that.
I should have done a percentage breakdown for you here. Yeah, like I mean, so like Adams, like Devontae and Tyreek went for 115.
Okay.
And I got I got Hopkins for 105.
I mean, that's
Which
good.
I thought was
I'm trying to think of what. So it's like I was trying to pull up mine to compare, but I am bad with math, so that's not going to help either. I'm not going to understand anything when I tell you guys this, but like I think in the one that me and you were in, Matt, I got Odell and Hopkins both for $40 each in a 300 cap. I believe that's what I ended up getting both of those for.
Here, I'll look it up.
So I'm pretty sure Matt's going to come prove me wrong. I'm going to end up spending more money than I thought I did, but
Yeah, I spent 55 on Hopkins in our draft.
I think Hopkins was 40 something for it. So
yeah,
here's Matt's auction in our league. You got DeAndre Hopkins for 40, Odell Beckham Jr. for 48, Jordan Love for 10, Mark Andrews for 27, Nick Chubb for 34, J.K. Dobbins for 35, Baker Mayfield for 40, Kerryon Johnson for 10, and T.Y. Hilton for 6.
sounds like a lot of homer picks in there. That's a lot of money on those Browns and Buckeyes players. That's for sure. Yeah, and the bad part about that is, so that's what, 1, 2, 5, 8. I got 9 players total right now, and I got to fill 11 more spots.
No, we have 21, so if you have 9 players, you got 12 more. Plus Debbie, so 13.
Oh, well, my bad. I've got a guy I'm bidding on. Am I looking at the right one? Yeah, Laviska Shenault, who I'm hoping I win, but
Yeah, I'm looking at the number closed. You have 9 so far that have closed.
yeah. I'm looking at my screen here, which got the 2, because I'm bidding on players right now. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping I win. Laviska and I don't remember who else. I was trying to scroll and find him. Pittman, 2 the guys. Saving my boy for last. I'm hoping some asshole. Let's see if I can get this right this time. Doesn't upbid him and steal him from me.
Oh yeah,
So did that in a rookie draft.
oh yeah. You'd be happy where I got your boy in a super flex. It was very late. Hold on, I was looking to see if I could tell you exactly what round it was in, but it was like I'm assuming we're talking about Hodgins.
Yes.
Let me see here. It was sorry, I had a bad late pick on that one. Let's see. I got Hodgins. So the rookies were included. I got him in the 18th round.
Very nice. When he goes in the 3rd round on Friday, he's going to shoot up everybody's board. This is going to piss me off. I mean, I'm happy for him, but it's going to piss me off. So it means I'm not going to be able to get as much of him as I want to. Dennis, give us a breakdown of your team here a little bit so we can kind of discuss how your team – because you went kind of stars and scrubs like Matt did too, didn't you?
I did. I spent 210 of my 275 on 5 players. So
when I read mine, you can just say, hold my beer.
I had Barkley for 80, Hopkins for 55, Kenyon Drake for 40, Mark Andrews for 35, and then just trying to bid up Matt, I got CD Lamb for 33. So that left me sitting with hardly any money. So I ended up I got quarterbacks are Allen and Goff for a total of $15. My running backs, I got Tevin Coleman, Gus Edwards, and Divine Ozigbo, each for $1. So that, I felt pretty good with, like, I like Edwards this year. I think he's going to be a consistent producer. He's probably not going to give you any RB1 weeks, but he's going to get a consistent amount of touches. And I guess out of your running back 3, that's what you're hoping for. And then if Tevin Coleman comes back around, we'll see what happens there. Looks like unless Jacksonville drafts a running back, if they trade Fournette, it could be good news for Divine Ozigbo. But then I went and traded Barkley for Fournette and Swift. Then my wide receivers, after Hopkins at 55 and Lamb at 33, now I just have to hope Lamb lands somewhere where he's inserted into the lineup and force-fed footballs. But I spent a grand total of $7 on the rest of my wide receivers, who are Cole Beasley, Alshon Jeffrey, Rashad Perryman, Kenny Stills, and Dede Westbrook.
Where do you think where do you hope Lamb goes to kind of make that $33 you spent on him worth it?
Well, in my first-round draft contest, my first pass at the first round so far, I actually have him going to the Raiders at 12. Or no, wait a minute. Where is he? I have him going to the Jets at 11.
Gotcha.
I actually have Tua dropping to the Raiders at 12.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. I saw you comment on that earlier. That's kind of the interesting little spot you had for him. Jonathan, besides Hodgins, did you end up with any rookies?
In the Superflex where they were included, yeah. In my auction, the only two I ended up with were Rager and DJ Dallas.
Nice.
Well, along with
cheap, I was just trying to get my guys for like $1 or $2 because everybody kept upbidding my other, everybody did the same thing. Like I had a guy comment in the group chat because he's in that one dynasty league with me that I was getting Tyreek Hill for like $95 for because it's like a 12-hour timer. So I was into hour 10. And going to get him for 95, and then he put in there what are you guys doing? He's going to get him for 95, and then all the bids shot up. So then I had to wait again until I got it for a little bit more.
Well, rookie wise, because I didn't have much money left after Lamb, I kind of had to take a look and see who might be able to produce something that nobody else wanted to bid on. So I actually went Hunter Bryant at tight end for $1. Michael Warren at running back for $1, and then a sleeper running back out of SMU, Xavier Jones. I got him for $1, and then somebody else nominated Lynn Bowden, and I drafted him. I got him for $2. So I feel okay with my rookies. I'm going to need to do something with in free agency to try and get a third quarterback.
Matt, what about you? Did you get any rookies so far in yours?
I did not have any rookies so far. So I also, I guess, unwittingly did stars and scrubs. I think I
and a little bit of in there as well.
Well, yeah, that was before. So in the first wave, I bid on Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, and Chris Godwin and put them up and Dak because it's super flex. And I thought someone would go over the top, but no. So I got Michael Thomas for 50, Devontae Adams for 40, Chris Godwin for 40, and I took Dak for 40. So that was, I think, 190 of our $300 on those four players. And then Drew Locke, they put him up early. I was hoping people would wait, and then I could get him for less. But then I ended up going up to 30 to make sure that I got him. And I had not taken a running back, so David Montgomery, I got him for 25. They were really bidding up running backs, so that was tough. The one that we'll see if it comes back to haunt my dreams is Cortland Sutton, because it got to about a point in time of 35 where I think you guys know, because in our chat I was like, I don't know if I should do this. No, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. And then the guy that had him at 43 was just talking about him being the greatest player and that I just didn't have enough belief in him. He actually apparently thought his bid had closed, but that was enough. I went back and took him for 45, so that was rough. So really having to bide my time now. I got my Debbie pick, 110, I got Sammy Watkins for $2, and then I finally got Darrell Henderson for $8. So I have a second running back. I'm pretty close to closing on Lindsey for $5. So that would give me 3 running backs.
Are you going to get Tim Patrick and Deshaun Hamilton as well?
Round them out. They're on my dynasty team. Maybe you
Juwan
should.
Winfrey?
I got them all.
I definitely am not going to be attempting to pick up that. Juwan Winfrey, that would be a complete waste. I mean, I might as well light my dollar on fire and throw it out the window.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not a big fan of Tim Patrick after he cost me my chance at a three-peat. So, all right, so some of my guys here that I've got, I mean, I think me and Matt already mentioned my other roster. So my other one, I've got Herbert. I've got 3 rookies, Herbert, Dobbins, and Lamb, all of which I got kind of expensive. It's the same format as the one me and Matt are in. Herbert I got for 25, which I thought was actually kind of cheap because it is a super flex format. But Dobbins 38 and then CeeDee Lamb 32. So I've kind of spent a lot of money on those 3 rookies. Now I'm kind of sitting with almost no money, kind of not bidding up, but trying to get those guys cheaper than that. What did you think so far? I guess I'm going to ask all 3 of you because, Dennis, I don't think it happened much in ours. But, Matt, me and you were in a chat that got a little contentious with some of the stuff. And Jonathan, you just mentioned it happened to you. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on the fact that you were about to win a bid for a player that it's not your fault that you were going to get him cheaper than what other people were paying for him, but then the fact that someone came in and made a big deal about you getting them cheap, and then so a bunch of people came in and upbid him. What were your thoughts on that? Because that caused all kinds of controversy for us in one of our leagues.
Yeah, I think okay, so I know who it is because I'm in like a dynasty league with him. So I was less offended than if it was just some like rando person that was in the league with me. I think but he's the guy. Like what did bother me was he's the guy who right out of the bat spent. I think I could do the math in a second here, but he had Mahomes, Jackson, CMC, and Barkley were the 4 he won right from the start, and spent like at least probably 75% of his budget on those 4. And then so I come in and get like Tyreek Hill for like 95 or whatever, and he's throwing, he's letting people know that. And so I was a little angry about him telling people to like upbid me so that I'd have to essentially overpay for Hill. At the time, I think if it was somebody that I didn't know, I'd probably be more pissed that like it was just some random person doing it because it would just be even more like irritating largely because I don't really get involved in the chat at all. So I'm just sitting there like just waiting to bid my players. And I will say the one thing that did really bother me, and I don't know if this happened to you guys too, in terms of like, I don't know what auction, if there is an auction etiquette, but to like upbid a guy by like $1, it just drives me insane. Like like you let the clock go all the way to like the last like hour, 30 minutes, and then you go from like $2 to $3. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. Like, come on.
No,
you're talking about the last hour. Ours was the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There was inside a minute a couple of times.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're going to upbid it, like just go like $3, $4, $5, like perfect. Especially because our budget was so large. Like,
why should I spend more money than I have to just to make you feel good?
It's not that. So here's where I kind of agree with Jonathan on this, because it did happen in our Devi one, and one of the victims was me, and I called it to Matt. I told him it was going to happen. So before I had bid on Zeke, and like Barkley and CMC had both gone for, Matt mentioned earlier, like 60 and 70 something dollars. I bid on
63.
Yeah, and I had bid on him, in all honesty, not wanting him. I was hoping that someone would pay a bunch of money, kind of waste their money on him. I was going after guys like Nick Chubb. I knew I wanted Dobbins. I was going to go after a bunch of rookies. I think I got Vaughn in that one too. Like I tried to go for a bunch of rookies. So with 5 minutes left, Zeke was on there with, I think, $40. And I was about to win him with 5 minutes left at $40. And I told Matt someone was going to do it. And some guy did. He bid him up $1. No, I think it was $5. I'll take that back. I think it was $5.
Right. Yeah, I went to 45.
Yeah, but he only did that because he's like, well, I didn't think it was fair that you were going to get Zeke that cheap. And I'm like, like, really, bro? Like, if I could punch you through the group me, I would. And then he ended up winning him because I wasn't going to bid any more for him. I'm not going to upbid. I wasn't going to bid because I didn't want to win him at that money. I would have taken him at 40. I wasn't going to go to 45.
Yeah.
What
that's called?
You seem to be kind of the guy who wants to play the villain there, and you're gonna, if you could, upbid 50 cents on the dollar if you could.
But
That's
see, I think
called creating rivalries.
Yeah. It was only happening, though, I noticed it seemed like with the running backs and a couple of top-tier quarterbacks, because I was surprised, honestly, that nobody made moves, against the top-tier wide receivers for a while. We've seen a little bit more action on wide receivers back and forth later, but I thought for sure somebody was going to go for one of the guys I had floated through, because we were making jokes about it. A lot of players that went after are going for more than Devontae Adams or Chris Godwin went for, and Michael Thomas, in terms of those top tier dynasty assets, going for 50 seems pretty good when you're talking about the quarterbacks. We're all 60 plus. Carson Wentz went for 55. We've seen like Joe Burrow go for 45. We've seen some even second tier running backs go higher than that. So that's been kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, that's why I thought getting Baker at 40 and then getting Jordan Love. Jordan Love was the really interesting one for me, and I think I kind of slid him in there. I did it early on when there was still a lot of people bidding, and I only bid $10 on him, and I won him. And I do think he has to progress. I don't know if he'll be a starter this year, but once he becomes a starter, I think I literally just stole a player in the Superflex format. So I was kind of happy about that. Jonathan, who's a player that you feel you might have stolen in your auction league?
Man, in my auction, let me look. I think it's going to be. I think Hopkins. I think Hopkins at 105. It's. I did the math earlier on percentage just so we could, in case someone's really nerding out on like stats. But like it was 13.5% of my budget on Hopkins, right, for 105. And you got guys like Michael Thomas, like Matt was mentioning, like in my league. I think he went for like. Now, it's just like a redraft, but like I think he went for like over $150 or something like that. So to get Hopkins and have Hill and Adams all within like a couple dollars of each other, and there's a big gap between. I don't think there's an actual big gap between those guys and Mike Thomas. So to me, I thought like any of those three receivers, but because Hopkins was a little bit lower, I think. I think he's going to be fine in Arizona. Like he's going to get the ball. Like there's nobody else there that's getting the ball. I don't think it's going to be Kirk. I mean, I know there was something today about him maybe getting traded ? So
yeah, I saw that.
I think Hopkins is getting the ball. I'm not concerned about his like ability to catch the ball.
Did you guys see the incredible tweet about Dallas was looking for a slot receiver, either Christian Kirk and I can't remember who the second guy was.
Yeah, it was a very fair.
The guy responded, he's like, yeah, for dinner tonight, I might have a sirloin or a hot dog. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Marquise
it was like
Goodwin was the other guy.
Yeah, Marquise Goodwin.
Marquise Goodwin, yeah.
It was Marquise Goodwin, yeah. So I will talk about those two guys. Let's stick with Hopkins since that's who Jonathan won. Are we worried about Hopkins at all going to Arizona? I know we talked about the trade earlier, but we didn't really discuss it in the effect of fantasy. I know I was a big fan of Kyler last year. I think he played really good. I think he takes a step forward. What are your guys' thoughts on Hopkins coming into this year now with the new team? I mean, he's still got Kirk and Larry Fitz. I don't know how much Kenyon Drake may participate in the receiving game, so he still has to somewhat compete with guys who are better than what he had. I mean, Will Fuller is better than Kirk, but Will Fuller's on the field for 2 games out of the year, so Kirk will actually be there.
You left out your favorite player, Hakeem Butler.
Oh, yeah?
Trust me, I'm really not happy that they traded because Hakeem Butler's the truth, and he's going to be the greatest wide receiver in the league, and he's not even going to get to play because Hopkins is there.
Which
4 years,
league,
he'll
CFL?
be the new Darren Waller.
Hey, that's fine with me because he's going to end up on the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to own every single share of him. I'm going to have the wide receiver 1 when that happens.
It's a long game. You're playing the long game.
We're playing Dynasty here, not redraft. Matt, what are your thoughts on Hopkins going to Arizona?
Well, to answer your question, I mean, I think he has a little bit more competition for targets. I actually yesterday added a Kyler Murray share, so I'm feeling hopeful. I liked what we saw from Murray last year. I think Hopkins is going to be fine. I don't have questions about him. More of my questions about the move have to do with, what is Arizona going to be like, and is Cliff Kingsbury and his offensive system going to last, going to work? Are they going to end up having to change coaches again? Things like that. I mean, I think he'll be fine, though. When I was doing my pre-draft rankings, I still have Hopkins as wide receiver 4 for the year.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any shortage of targets for DeAndre Hopkins. The issue may be, will his hands be too sore to catch the ball?
Matt, you had him at 4. Who'd you have above him? Obviously, Michael Thomas. Who are the other 3?
Godwin and Adams.
Other 2. Oh, that's right. I forgot about you. You've got Godwin really high up there. Okay, what about Michael Thomas? He gets I was told there was going to be no math, all right? I am horrible at math.
No, I'm saying I have Godwin.
Oh, yeah, I know you do. Yeah, you're a big Godwin truther. I know.
I don't know about
that.
You
spent $180 out of a $300 budget on him, right? Something like that.
He was the only one of those 3 receivers I wanted, and he was the only one I had to compete back to get. That it bit me in the backside so hard.
Is anybody worried about Emmanuel Sanders going to New Orleans and taking some of the targets away from Michael Thomas?
Nope.
No. I would say I think if anybody still takes quote unquote some of it, I think actually Cook may be more so than Sanders.
Cook
at
and
least in the end zone. You know what I mean? Like more so than anywhere else.
Yeah, I think Mike will have close to his target share, and I think the rest of the guys are just fighting to divide it up.
If anything, it might help Thomas, because if you think last year, Thomas was getting triple, double and triple teamed because there was nobody that anybody else thought was a great receiver on the other side. Sanders,
it didn't matter.
Yeah, and it didn't matter. And Sanders you have to actually cover. So, the greatest thing for Michael Thomas will be if Sanders burns a couple of people because they leave him alone early in the season, and then it'll open up things for Thomas a little more.
All right, so what was your overall thoughts on your auction draft there, Jonathan? Like, how did you like doing it? It's something that I've actually enjoyed doing more than actual startup drafts. I don't know about this guy because he was kind of hesitant about it. I don't know if he's enjoyed the auction experience that much this year, but what were your thoughts on it?
I liked it. Would I do it? Would I do it again? I might do maybe one more, but would it supplant either doing Superflex tight end premium? Now I'm sort of getting a little more into that, even though I'm fading tight ends terribly, and it's probably going to come back to bite me in those leagues. I don't think it's piqued my curiosity enough to kind of continue with the auction. I do think it's an interesting format, but I think I prefer doing Superflex Dynasty. To me, I know I might be a little kind of behind the times in terms of the curve for what's going on, but just a normal standard kind of snake draft.
Matt, what about you?
Auction's not my favorite format.
Yeah,
and
that's where you were going to get it.
This has done little to change that. I mean, I just don't. So, we've obviously done mocks and stuff, and you can tell when it gets to me, I make picks pretty quick because I'm watching the board and I have my selection. My entire strategy and thinking for doing it is thrown off. And honestly, if we were going to do an auction again, I think I would have done better with a regular auction where you're doing it, you're watching the clock, you're watching one at a time, you're keeping track. The 24-hour thing and having 24 bids open, it threw off my tracking. And I think that's where we saw some people early in the draft slip through. I don't think people realized some of what the bids were on some of those players. Because I told you before, some pretty decent tier, like Tyreek Hill went for sub $40. So did Julio Jones went for $35. DJ Moore went for $35. People were not ready. I think we're still trying to adjust, and that's me. I've never done an auction slow draft, so it was kind of wading into a different kind of experience.
Yeah, that's why I kept nominating all those top guys right at the beginning. I mean, this is only my second one or third one maybe. I just had done one, obviously, with Dennis that we were talking about. So that's why I was nominating those guys, though, because I knew people would be – I mean, I even said it in the chat. I gave everybody the chance to not do it. It's like, don't upbid players at the beginning because you're going to end up screwing yourselves. And now most of the teams are sitting there with $20 trying to fill 10 spots. And it's not going to work for them. Dennis, what was your kind of overall experience with the? I know it's a little bit different because we have to do contracts with it, which I still haven't looked at because
you were promised there would be little math.
So
trust me, yeah, the math part's not good with me at all.
I've done auctions before, and I'm usually really, really good about determining what value I have on players. This one is a contract league. For whatever reason, that got in my head, and I did not prep for the auction part of it with the player valuations because I was so trying to get my head around the contract part of it. And I don't think I was really prepared because usually I will usually if I put let's say Saquon Barkley, his value to me is $60. I'm rigidly not going to go more than 65. That's just how I've always done auctions. But I hadn't done an auction in a few years, and I got so wrapped up with the contract aspect of it that I did not have a good foundation for how I was valuing the players. I don't hate my team. I think like Alshon Jeffrey is somebody – he could catch 70 passes for 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns this year. Even if Philadelphia drafts 3 wide receivers, there's still a strong chance Alshon still leads them in receptions. It's for me, I like the auction format as part of it. I do tend to prefer the fast auctions where you've got 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatnot, and you're going and you're bidding. In a slow auction, I think part of what you want to have is people you're more familiar with.
So
because then you don't end up with like I'm just going to bid up. How can I? Then things like, are we going to really let Matt get Tyreek Hill for that price? If everybody knows each other or is at least acquainted, then it's more fun as opposed to being kind of snarky.
See, what it made me think of is probably one of the reasons that I struggle with auctions, probably some of the stuff Matt talked about with getting suckered into getting bid up for your guys. Like I have a friend who, I used to play with that I met on Fantasy Life app, Mike. He loves auction drafts. He doesn't have a favorite NFL team. He doesn't really have a team that's his team. He likes following football in general, and he loved auctions. And I think I understand more why auction worked out well for him because he didn't have that emotional investment. Like I hosed myself because I spent $75 of a $300 budget, so I had to have a Bronco stack. That's not Matt, the fantasy analyst. That's Matt, the guy with the horse emblem behind him, who just, listening to somebody talk glowingly about Cortland Sutton and saying, darn it, I said 38 was my max. I'm going 45. Yeah. And I probably would have gone higher, too. I was thinking to myself, I was rationalizing. I'm like, if it gets to 55, I'll have to bail out. But I can't even imagine how I would have screwed my team even further. I think that's part of the hard – if people know, obviously everybody knows us and some of our fandoms, and they were bidding up some of the Cleveland players or some of the rookies that Matt wanted. I think that's part of my struggle. There's random chance guys snipe you or whatever when you're doing snake draft, but it doesn't feel quite as brutal as the auction where you're self-sabotaging.
Yeah, and I think that's the same. Like, I don't really have necessarily a favorite NFL team or anything, and I honestly, outside of playing fantasy, don't follow too much. Like I more follow soccer more than anything else.
Ooh.
Thank you. All right, and so I'm wearing my Spurs jersey for you.
I was going to ask you if it was a Spurs one or not.
The Spurs. Oh, this side I got a hold there. All right. So anyway, but to that point, I think what happened.
That didn't look like a horseshoe.
It's not. It's not a Cowboy star either, even though I'm over here. I think to me what it was when people started upbidding me was less my allegiance to the player and more just an FU, all right, okay, I'm gonna keep going. That's where that irrationality was coming in, was I want Hopkins, I want Hill. If we're playing in my format, at least with his best ball, Hill could go out there and score he could be 5 touchdowns, 1 week. So my initial strategy when we were kind of talking strategies was to kind of before I knew I didn't necessarily have to fill all the roster spaces, because that's what I was trying to figure out was how am I going to get like 24 roster spots, and all these guys are like CMC's almost $200. Like, you know, you're thinking like he's already like a third of the budget. Like, how am I going to be able to do this? And my strategy went like right out the window. And once I figured out that I didn't necessarily need to fill all the spots, then trying the more like balanced approach, I was like, forget that. Like, I'm just going like deep on like receiver. I'll hope Jimmy G can. I don't care enough. Can he get just a couple of points? Because like when you start looking at how everything else falls out for everybody else, once those top players go off the board, like the balanced guys that are remaining, they don't have nearly the ceiling that like CMC or, you know, Hill or Hopkins, you know, if you're going that kind of, you get down into that, you know, more like third tier guy who's still costing, you know, even if it's just half of what you paid for Hopkins, but is he going to outproduce Hopkins for the money that you save just to get him plus? Like I was kind of along those lines of like, will these two receivers outscore Hopkins, you know, that are kind of left over? And I don't think they will.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So right before we cut out of here, what are your thoughts, Jonathan, on the virtual NFL draft? Are you excited for it this weekend?
I think it's going to be a disaster, but based on these early talks, I do enjoy the
they screwed up pick one today.
They picked I saw that, and I saw like who is it that they always give a hard time? Oh, Gettleman for the Giants. Like, it's going to be. It shouldn't be for the amount of money and IT people that they could get to kind of get that thing set up. I think it's a cool way to do it, especially for, I think, fans at home. I think there's a lot you could do that would be, you know, somebody like me who doesn't necessarily have a team and I'm just more interested in where people land for fantasy purposes. I think there's a lot you could probably do online the way you set it up to get more fans involved. Like I know, for example, as like a parallel, I know like the PGA Tour, right, before like everything went whack with all the coronavirus stuff, was interested in doing more kind of like live streaming stuff of that and like betting components with DK and everything. And I know there's like another kind of golf outlaw tour that's doing something through like Periscope. But I think like with the NFL, there's so many fans and there's so many opportunities in the online platform that they need. I don't know who's in charge of their like social media or that sort of outreach, but I think that could be a way going forward that they could definitely kind of tap into something that they haven't tapped into necessarily yet in the fantasy, like at least within the fantasy component of it. I think you got a lot of people, especially being home, that they could definitely, you know, if you could get like some sort of like inside camera on your favorite team, like Matt, you'd probably be all over. Like you get like a Cleveland Browns camera up in the corner somewhere, like, you know, like over here somewhere, and you could watch in the, you know, in the war room or whatever. I think something like that would really entice people that are like super diehards.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It would stress me out too much. Just sit there and watch them talk about who they're going to take that's going to be the wrong pick. It's just, I couldn't handle it. I just need to watch it happen once. That way I can just not have to relive my horror the entire time.
They should let you like vote though. That's what I think. I want some like, you know, fan interaction, right? Like tell me
that's the bad part about it,
choice.
Browns fans are very fickle. We'll all vote like the wrong player, and then they're going to draft that player, and then we're all going to get mad because they drafted that player when they should have drafted this player over here. So, others that may work for other franchises. I don't know if it'd work for the Browns, though, at all. Matt, Dennis, your guys' quick thoughts on the virtual draft real quick before we get out of here? You guys excited, ready for it?
I'll let Dennis go first.
I think that the whole technical issues talk is much ado about nothing. I think I agree with what Jonathan said. They've got the resources to do it. And if I'm not mistaken, back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, you know, early 60s, I don't know that they all necessarily congregated in a room or a bunch of rooms together and did it. I mean, it didn't even start being put on TV till the 70s?
Actually, I just watched Peyton's Places about the draft. They did kind of congregate in a room, and it was the most boring experience of all time. I loved Archie Manning describing his experience of being drafted number 1. They called him to like the athletic director's office, and he kind of sat there, and they're like, "Hey, you got drafted by the Saints," and then he went back to class.
Right. So I just think even, we get pictures into the war room. Did I freeze again? No, just static. So we get pictures into the war room as it is. So I would not be surprised one bit if the NFL, in every GM's office or whoever's making the call in their room, that there is a shareable Zoom that they're going to pull up so you can see. So, Mel Kiper can go, and I'm using him. It wouldn't be him. It'd be somebody else host. Rich Eisen can go share. Look, we're watching, the Cleveland Browns in their Zoom meeting discussing who they're going to take at pick number 10 or whatever it is. And so I if an old dude like me isn't scared of the technology with my limited resources, then I got to expect that these billion-dollar entities, now we're not talking a billion-dollar entity. I mean, we're talking $32 billion entities. They've got the resources to pull this shit off.
Well, I'm still excited. I mean, it's, the draft is something we look forward to every year. Dennis is right. They're going to have it worked out. At the bare minimum, somebody gets on a phone, calls the commissioner's office, and they make the formal announcement. They already have lined up, I think, 58 prospects who they're going to have ready for interviews. So they have some kind of camera thing set up. Instead of coming out of a room in the back where they're hugging their agent and wearing a suit, they're just going to be at their house with their family. Some of those interviews in the years past have been better anyway. They're going to have the highlight reel packages to run for the players. I think for the most part, it's going to be a little bit of the draft things you come to expect. The things that I think I'll miss is the energy of the arena, like when the commissioner comes out and starts the draft, kind of getting booed, or in the past few years they've had special players from each team come out and do a second and third round pick and get the reactions of the crowd. Like I was watching in Peyton's Places, they were talking to Drew Pearson about the year that he came and did the Cowboys pick when it was in Philadelphia, and all the NFC East guys that got booed. Some of the live reaction, hearing the crowd when picks are made. You'll miss some of those kind of things. But I think for the most part, if anything, seeing the ratings numbers for The Last Dance last night, which they said were way above ESPN's even most hopeful projection, shows that we're all starved for some kind of sports going on. And this is as close to a live sporting event as we have had in over a month now.
It is.
Sorry, I'm being interrupted by my son at the moment.
I don't know if you've talked about it in the intro or not, but if you haven't went out and donated $12 to the Allen Robinson Within Reach Fund, which buys $20 worth of food for a needy family, and you get an chance to win, amongst other things, an autographed Allen Robinson jersey. You can check out Tony Dwyer at Commissioner Mister on Twitter.
Yeah, and speaking of jerseys, for those of us who are going to join on Thursday night, I'm going to roll out at least one Bronco jersey for the draft. It'd probably be something that rhymes with Jim Freebo.
Very nice, very nice. So you're gonna do it on if you're happy with the Broncos pick, you're gonna
maybe. I think I have 6 jerseys. I have Elway, I have Rod Smith, I have Champ Bailey, I have John Lynch, I have Tebow. I have Von Miller jersey shirt. I have C.J. Anderson. Maybe that's the one I should wear.
I need to get you a Rob Lytle jersey.
I love C.J. Anderson. He won me one of my very first fantasy championships that year.
I have
with them. So
I have my Peyton jersey, obviously, from Super Bowl 50.
Well, if you do it, I may break out my Denzel Ward one. I think I don't have that many. I've only got 4. I've got Kellen Winslow Jr. and Dennis Northcutt. Those are the only 2 other ones I had for the Browns. So I don't have any recent guys. It's just Denzel Ward that I have that's recent. But yeah, we will, as Matt just mentioned, we'll be live on Thursday, maybe even Friday. We haven't really confirmed that yet, but we will definitely be live Thursday to talk about that. But Dennis, me and you will be back on Wednesday to give our final rookie ranks. We'll probably do it live since we've been doing these other ones. So we will do that as well on Wednesday, final rookie ranks before we get ready for Thursday's big draft, which we are all excited about. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. You've been one of the best listeners we've had. We appreciate all the interactions. Congratulations again for winning the Listener League. I know you're in the other one. I was wanting to talk about that one, but we've already gone over an hour, so we'll have to bring
another
you back
day.
on.
Yeah.
Maybe after the rookie draft, we can bring you back on to see how your team's kind of finished out.
I don't have a lot of rookies in that one. So let's hope they don't do so well then.
What's up?
I said I think in that one I don't have too many rookie picks. So I think I went more veteran than anything else.
Gotcha. Well, hey, just don't snipe Isaiah Hodgins from me, and we'll be good. That's what this guy did.
I'll try not to.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to talking to you guys throughout the rest of the week. And Jonathan, if you want to jump on with us Thursday, you're more than welcome. If not, enjoy the NFL draft, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Right on.
All right.
Prepare for glory!
I want to know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
I came out the womb, I was ready.
And he's hit the end zone for an unbelievable touchdown.
I would be honored if you played football for this team.
Throw it up above his head. They can't jump with me. Golly. Oh, they tackle him at the 40-yard line. Who can make a play? I can. Who can make a play?